I hit live. I wish I had our theme ready to go. Excellent. All right. I should screen share.
Okay, well, I think I am watching our stream.
Excellent. Let's put this guy over there. Oh, I wish I could see us bigger and the stream smaller. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll just mess with this for a sec. What's up, y'all?
Cool.
Thanks for tuning in. We're just tuning in our technical settings.
Cheer. This is
Cheer.
really the inaugural.
It really is, yeah.
A new season is upon us.
Show my screen share. Unchecking doesn't end your stream. It just hides it from your personal view. Oh, what? Okay. It's crazy how ineffective that was. That's the problem. Show non-video participants. Now we're talking. All right. I think that should look pretty good. Yeah, that looks great.
Lovely.
Just put us down like this. Got a little border, which I'm into. All right. So the purpose of today's meeting is to break down Girl, I'm a Plane.
Yep.
Get your coffees.
Get your coffee, get your water.
Get your water, stay hydrated. It's a cold,
maybe eat breakfast
gray
after.
Pittsburgh day.
Keep the energy up.
All right. You seeing my screen okay, Gabe?
Yep.
Hell yeah. All right. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach this in terms of like covering what's happening in this Ableton project. So I'm just going to like start at the top and start moving down and see what is in there. And then any questions or directions that you want to go in, we will go that direction. So if you're like, oh, what is that doing? Or how did you make this sound? Or blah, blah, blah. We can go that direction, and I suspect there will be some fun little Easter eggs in the project we'll uncover, and that's how I'm thinking.
Nice. And I would say I just want to cover melody creation of each of the things as we get to them.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, maybe it even makes sense before we jump in. Do you want to give an overarching description of what this song is for maybe somebody who's watching this and like hasn't checked out the music video, for instance, or like they just are like know that we have a plane hat, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'll go pretty far back and then tie it together quickly, which is the first song I wrote was Da Flatlands, which was kind of the can't hear you.
Can't hear me.
Now I can.
I wasn't talking.
Your video is just behind, so we're just gonna let that roll.
Cool. We'll just let that roll.
Yeah. And then I really got to set up my Eero. Y'all know about the mesh network. Anyway, really quickly, yeah. We were at a beach house in North Carolina, and I wrote my first song called The Flatlands with the help of the whole band. And this was like this is in my brain, but this is like this fictitious kind of psychedelic world that's very peaceful. And but before this, we were into planes. Is that right?
It would have been around that time.
Were we into planes?
We could probably timestamp something. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting. Anyway, so that was just a nice moment because I feel like the whole band, we kind of wrote a whole album on our first retreat together, which is Permastank. Yep. And then one of the tunes was Da Flatlands. So I feel like I was, I don't know. I was in this classical mode and writing was good. So then fast forward a bunch, was playing in New Deco Ensemble, which is one of the groups that I play in out of Miami. And we were doing a song, an Outcast suite, and it was The Art of Storytelling was this one. And this melody was great. And I just started. I was in these really late night practice sessions in the cold gray winter, which is upon us now, which is usually when I feel my most creative. And I was just fucking around with this, the melody in the art of storytelling, which is like do 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 boom. So I was fucking with that, which really is the bones of "Girl, I'm an Airplane." And then I was maybe in pursuit of a girl at this time. So
Can you,
then,
sorry, can you just say the name of that song one more time clearly so that later in the edit we have it?
yes, it's "The Art of Storytelling," Part 1.
Awesome. We'll get that linked.
And main melody there. And yeah, I don't know what struck him. I don't know why I was messing along with it. In practice, I ended up putting it in a. I just dropped it a half step and changed it a tiny bit, as as one
As
does
one does.
with melodies. And yeah, so at the time I was in pursuit of a romantic partner. And this was going to be an R&B song, like straight up, just like a sexy come into bed with me kind of like
I feel like
what's it
our
called?
the words were different originally, right? Do you
Oh
remember any
yeah.
of the original? You know,
Honestly, I
yeah.
think I do. It certainly started with "Girl."
That's what
So
yeah,
it
I know
"Girl," yeah.
that.
And so I got that. I think I'm gonna leave the rest. Yeah,
That's
just
fair.
say I
That's fair.
forget.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
um, so yeah, it was gonna be like D'Angelo's song, and then we got more into airplanes at some point, and then at some point I was just like, well, what if I just made this song about planes? So then it turned the first lyric, "Girl, I am an airplane." Girl, you know I am an airplane. And then I just got on a heater one night super late and then started. So after the main melody, which I was really happy with. Oh yeah, the first mini bridge, like the chorus, da 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 da, that
Hmm.
was all original material. And then the bridge was like, I don't know how that happened, and I just love it. I was sitting at the piano and kind of just letting the chords take me where they would, which you'll hear at the end of the song. And then
Hmm.
that became "Girl, I'm an Airplane."
Love it. And with that, we will dive in. So probably here, and when we stitch this, we might, just throw in the full song. But for the listener, I think what we're gonna do is first go through and break everything down, and then at the end of this stream, we might play it in its
Love it.
entirety, or just let you go stream it on Spotify and
Stream
add
it
it to your favorite
yourself.
playlist. So let's dive in. At the top here, we have got our core rack. So those who have seen any of our other breakdowns are probably familiar with the core rack. So there's going to be a lot of percussion in any given Beauty Slap song, and the core rack is going to be the most sort of fundamental parts of the drum set. So like if you had to reduce the entire percussion part down to one kit player, this is what they'd be doing on the kick, the hi-hat, and the snare. So here we've got. Are we still happy with levels?
Yeah, it sounds a little soft, maybe.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too. I think I'm going to just turn up the master 10 decibels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. So it's funny, I was looking at this kit, and I just kept this project pretty much exactly the same way that it was whenever I finished editing. And I had a bunch of drums in this core rack that were muted. So I just thought that was kind of fun. Like
Nice.
this clap didn't make the final edit. This little snap didn't make the final edit. Yeah, I don't think we need to spend a bunch of time going through this core rack. But I'll just quickly show there's this hat, this rim click, and then a couple other kind of auxiliary sounds. Not a lot going on, just this transient shaper. So transient shaper is kind of fun. It basically just lets me add a little bit more attack, and I'm using that across the entire kit. So I didn't put that just on the kick or just on something. I put it on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of saturation, so just making the whole kit kind of glow. But yeah, I don't know. If I'm being honest, when I was listening back to this, I was like, this kit isn't like super slapping, which I feel like is a thing that I've learned working on more pop adjacent music. Is oftentimes the drums in these songs are underwhelming. And then here I'll just quickly unsolo. Like, in the way that everything is pushing and pulling with each other, there's a lot of weight happening, you know? Like, it feels very heavy and gooey, but that isn't coming out of this. This is actually, like, not even very swung. If you listen to, like, the rim clicks, they're totally straight. Like, it's completely straight down to the 16ths. But as we'll see later with sidechain and stuff, you can get a real swung feel. So under here, we've got all these other percussion elements, which are sidechained to the core rack. So this is just them. If I turn off the sidechain, got basically some cowbell. Very important. Turn the sidechain back on. I really like this shaker. Just sort of. And I'm not really talking about too much about form right now, but so I'm just playing the part of the drums that has the most going on. If we listen over here in the intro, you get layers like this clap loop, which I use a lot. So it's just a bunch of claps. I put a bunch of reverb on them, and then we're just slowly letting in the highs on the filter. You can hear it's very sidechained.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else worth looking at in here? We've got the silly trap hats. This is again during the big, just sort of a glitchy layer. These offbeat shakers. Another shaker here. And then somewhere, yeah, we've got this big Latin percussion group. You can see this is just some little MIDI pattern I drew up. It's using like a whole bunch of different samples, and then all together, those things make this group. Which again, if we listen to it, is like completely straight, everything. But even just between this and the core rack now, using like this slow sidechain, which I'm using this plugin Gatekeeper to do the sidechain, you'll see every time the kick or the snare hits, or I can bring it over where the Latin stuff is in here. You get these big long ducks. So and that ducking is actually not completely on the grid. So this is sort of like the first thing introduced in my brain where it's like not completely just straight rhythmically. This is where you start to get a little bit of that like gooey bleeding kind of like slower pulse, if that makes sense. At the end, I think there was even more of, yeah, this, so at the end, I put in a couple more layers of Latin percussion things, just like djembes and congos and tambas and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of it for the percussion in this song, which I just found a little surprising. Like, it's not a super heavy, like, you know, there's not a lot of dramatic fills and rises and stuff. Um, Also, I was like, damn, that cowbell is doing some heavy lifting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Boom. And yeah, it is groovy for sure, I think. So then moving along, we're in the bass bus. Any questions about any of that? Slash, did that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't I guess I would say I'm used to hearing stuff and writing for stuff with no rhythm. So usually when I'm writing, I have no concern for drums at all. So it just would make sense to me that I don't know, unless I had a yeah, I guess there will be more different songs, but it makes sense to me that you wouldn't have to do a ton of heavy lifting percussion wise on it.
Totally. I will say, like I remember the drums on this being hard. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
we went through lots of iterations, which I think also was just you and I kind of like figuring out together what the vocabulary for the song was going to be, like
Yeah.
what the sonic palette would be in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, down here we got our bass. So yeah, the main bass sound for this is this like upright sound, which it's been bounced to audio, but I'm pretty sure that this, yeah, actually I can see the input on the track was set to my Prophet. So I think this is just a upright bass out of the Prophet X.
Nice. Yep.
Again, almost no processing going on. So there's this glue compressor, which the keen-eyed among you will notice is not actually doing anything. It's not triggering the threshold, so no compression is happening. And then a saturator, as always, just adding a couple dB of saturation. It's a saturation I've probably talked about with you, but for the audience, it's like a very light distortion. So you can think of like the gain knob on a guitar amp. But so it's literally just distorting the signal, but in a way that to me makes it feel much more pleasing. Oh, that's kind of interesting. There's a utility which I've made everything below 193 hertz mono, which is just interesting to me because usually I would just make the entire bass mono, which we can listen. That would sound something like this. Yeah, and there's definitely, that's different. This is a pretty wide bass sound, which is kind of cool. Let's see if I turn that off. It's even wider. That's wild, actually. It sounds almost like there's a chorus on it or something. So yeah, we cleaned it up by just taking the middle lowest. We can solo. This is the stuff that I put in the middle. Then anything above that is kind of stereo. But yeah, again, like in context, I think this bass is really pumping and huge sounding, and soloed, it's not. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
And so it's just funny. Like, I think this is one of those things where it's like the lesson for me there is like, yeah, you gotta listen to your stuff in context. Like, that really matters. And I think that that is a trap that a lot of producers fall into, where it's like, you solo your kick and your kick sounds incredible,
Great.
and then
Yeah.
you unsolo it and your entire mix sounds really bad.
Yep.
And like, it's because everything changes when there's a bunch of other sounds going on, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with that in mind, here we can listen to maybe like the bass and the percussion layers we've talked about. Like, it's already starting to sound, I would argue, sort of like an ensemble. Definitely greater than the sum of its parts. You know, like, we can go back to that core rack, it's like nothing. But then the core rack with the side chain.
Totally.
Yeah. Another fallen hero here is this Moog answer line, which we can just look at, whatever. I remember this. Yeah, I remember that I put this in the intro. Yeah, that got vetoed at some point. It's very Mogi, but yeah, it's not. It's just a totally different sonic palette than we ended up
Yeah.
going. You know,
Yep.
it could have been interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that was just like a different song that we could have had.
Totally.
But I mean, I'm glad with where we ended. Yeah, cool. Moving down, so we've got the atmospheres bus here. So a lot of Beauty Slap songs are gonna have this atmospheres section. I like to try and keep things organized in these groups. So far we've had the Korak, then just a big drum bus, this second epic world percussion, which should probably be in the drum bus, but I'm sure I just added it very late in the process and didn't want to mess with what was already going on. And we have the bass bus, and now we're going to be in the atmospheres bus. So the atmospheres is going to be things that are, are atmospheric, usually not rhythmic or melodic, So that's going to be big whooshy sounds, like this wind sound, which is happening in the intro of this song. The intro also has these car keys.
Yeah, the classic car keys.
I've gotten a lot of mileage out of that car key sample.
Totally.
I've also gotten a lot of mileage out of this Kenny Beats stomp. Yeah, and so this stuff is just like serving the same purpose as silence, basically, but to me it's much more interesting than silence. And then also allows us to contrast it with silence. So I like to like use these sort of very quiet ambient sounds throughout a song, especially in like down tempo parts like the intro, or a lot of music will have like another kind of like break in the middle of the song.
Mm-hmm.
And so these like parts where the rest of the song is kind of quieter, I like to make the like negative space, so to speak, a little bit louder by like making it so if everything else in the song becomes quiet, then actually in this part, the quietest it can be is like listening to these keys and these outside ambiences, so that right before the drop or whatever, you can get rid of all of that. And all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, the quietest that my song can be just got a little bit quieter, which also means that it can get louder, is basically the idea. Like, you just kind of increase the amount of contrast between quiet and loud right whenever you want to. And it's like a variable you have control over now.
Don't all those sounds have a name? Like what are they called?
Foley is something.
Yeah.
They're often called Foley. Yeah.
That's useful.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So these are all Foley sounds. And then there's a couple other like little riser sounds sprinkled in here. Things like this guy, or this noise sound. Yeah. And so we can listen to the atmospheres. Oh wait, also, yeah, all my cymbals and reversed cymbals will go here. This guy, this guy. Oh, this is actually a reverse reverb. That's kind of fun. So here, let's make a track and drag this out and see what's going on. What? Why did I just deactivate? All right, we're gonna put you over here. We're going to reverse you and listen to you. Huh.
Some of the voice?
Yeah, it must be your voice. Let's see if I take it down an octave, maybe.
First class cruising, baby.
First class cruising.
Yep.
That's great. So we just took first class cruising, put a bunch of reverb on it, and then reversed that. And we ended up with this sound.
That's wild.
That's what we do here. This is what these breakdowns are all about. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So in context, yeah, that's great. It's just a big reverse of the rest of the atmospheres. Is there anything? Yeah, nothing on the atmospheres above. Yeah, so here, we can listen to some of these atmospheres just soloed. We got a lot of punctuation after that cymbal. We lose a lot of the like Foley. And then we get some true silence for the first time for the verse.
Mm-hmm.
This is your
So that little blip right there is the first time in the whole song that we've had actual
sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight here on
Beauty Slap Airlines. Any other atmosphere things later we should look at? I'll just quickly check. I feel like it's really just standard stuff here. Yeah, so later we bring back some of the wind, some of the Foley. I feel like I heard some chimes in there. Yeah, I use chimes in almost every production that I use, even if it's just super, super, super quiet. Just one of the easiest ways to get those highest frequencies that we can hear in there is what I find. All right, yeah, moving along. We'll get into the melodic bus here. So we got some guitar, which it looks like I just used to store a hi-hat loop. But this is guitar. Yeah. So listen, all of the best sounds in this song are already available on our website in the form of a sample pack, and this is one that's in there that I just remember mixing for the sample pack, and I was like, man, this guitar sounds, it ended in a good place.
Yeah. Super nice.
Yeah. It is a parallel chord motion, so it's actually just the original, it's just one sample being repitched around.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's also why you have faster strumming when it's higher, which I just really love.
Love it. Yep.
Yep. You get the very beginning strum. You can really hear it's like brum 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 ba-dum ba-dum, which is like a very kind of hip hoppy.
Yeah, totally.
Just good shit. So we like our guitar here. All right, intro piano sexy that was vetoed. Let's see what this was gonna be. Yeah, okay. I might have been the one who vetoed this.
This is your captain speaking. We're getting ready for liftoff and requesting you fasten your.
Yeah, okay, so it's just like a little bit of flourishing. Yeah. This is how I write this stuff. Dirty Bell's Prophet. What is this? Oh, yeah. I actually thought this was a pretty important sound in the grand scheme of things. It's a weird actual effect now that I listen to it. Feels like it has like a really short reverb that's really muddy, actually. You hear that? It's kind of like bow, bow, bow,
Yeah.
bow. Yeah. Yeah, in retrospect, I probably would have cleaned that up a little somehow. But who knows? Maybe I kept it that way for some reason. Let's listen with the rest. Yeah, I think think it's super important. It's one of those pop like ear candy things that's just like, yo, higher frequencies than anything around it. It's gonna give you a nice little rhythmic like sense of pace.
Totally.
Da 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 da. Like something needed to be doing that rhythm there for sure. Especially when it goes high here. Boom, boom. Yeah. Just a good bell sound. Bells and chimes, man. They're just like they're so brilliant in their timbre. It's one of the only things that's not digital that has those high frequencies. Mm. Oh yeah, this is in the sample pack. This is my old keyboard. This is the RD800.
Oh,
the
damn.
Big 88 keyboy. Yeah, that's just good tremolo RD800 Rhodes, man. And this is it reversed and up an octave. Yeah, I love that. So those two together. Yeah. Yeah, and so like this song to me, like I was talking earlier about how the percussion is like straight, but it feels kind of swung. I definitely feel like rhythmically this song is loose and has a little bit of like a shuffle to it at parts. And to me, this is a great example of something that's like introducing that shuffle, like the way that these two things kind of loosely overlap with each other as a round. Put this with the atmospheres and some of the drums. Like it's just introducing a sense of lateness, you know? Mm-hmm. Like things can really drag and it's okay.
Yeah, definitely some looseness to the song for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, what else have we got in this melodic bus? So there's a high upright bass, which was turned off. Yes, let's see what this was. I feel like I remember this was. Yep. So this didn't end up making the cut.
This is your captain speaking. We're getting ready for liftoff, and I'm requesting you fasten your seatbelts and set your
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, again, just not the sonic direction that we ended up going in the song. The same thing is going to be true for this next guy, I believe. This flute. Yeah. I think I made those around the same time, and I was just trying out a different direction that we didn't end up doing. Same will be true for this. This was in the song, if I remember correctly, this sound was in it for a long time. Like there was a long... I'll let it play.
Oh, okay.
You remember this guy?
Yeah.
So all of these are just things that came from Prophet Land at one point or another. It looks like this is the last one of these rejected Prophet lines. Oh yeah, I remember this. I like this sound. I feel like this one actually is much closer sonically to the direction than all the other ones we just heard. But still, it's like a little Lion King-y and not exactly the right scene from the Lion King or something. should find this profit patch though. I don't know how I made that.
It's very nice.
Yeah, when the bass comes in, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. All right, well, maybe we'll put that one in the sample pack too. All right, now these are ones that are actually in the song, like this piano. Super basic. We got some cellos next. Some strum strings as well.
Yeah,
starting to come together a little bit, you know. Yeah, so here in the bridge, we introduce this guy. Is this big diva patch that very slowly allows itself to take over the entire mix. Yeah, it's funny. Actually, it has more strength than I remember. I think in some earlier version, I was less disciplined with the filter, which I'll just do now. So this is what's really happening kind of behind the scenes if we open up the filter. Just sort of a basic counterpoint idea. Really, yeah. Honestly, just kind of wasting time until you can arrive at that chord in a lot of ways. Keeping the tension alive as long as possible, you know? Like, if it was a chess game, this guy's not trading any pawns. He's letting all of them stare at each other. Like,
keeping the tension alive.
Keeping the tension alive. All right, anything else? Okay, here in the... kind of after the bridge, we get this vocal doubling, which is just another profit. This is just the Rhodes, nice and high passed. You'll notice we haven't talked a lot about like sound design. Most of the the sounds in this project are emulations of acoustic instruments or acoustic instruments, and so there's not a lot of like, here's how I made this crazy synth patch, you know, like there's that diva thing, and that's kind of the first thing like that we've even stumbled upon. But yeah, so this is just a double for the vocal here. Oh, and we got rid of the vocal during this part.
Yeah.
There is a Hakeem happening.
Folks, sorry about that. We had a little bit of turbulence there. Just a little bit of bump in the sky.
I think we'll do that, all the vocal stuff, I think, last, which means that now we can get into some brass. So let's start with French horn. All right, if that doesn't make you smile, you're tuned into the wrong Twitch stream, all right? So that's just a beautifully charming French horn soli at the end of our song called Girl, I Am an Airplane. Gabe, is there anything you would like to say about this, actually?
Notably up a half step from the original key, because we thought that a half-step modulation in the middle would add some life to this piece. But yeah, we got some trombones and trumpets earlier, and French horn is just, going to be uniquely triumphant and get all that goopy slur in the middle. So
Yeah.
why not bring some French horn with some world drums?
Why not? Just real quick for the nerds out here. So we've got 4 takes of John on the French horn here. We've got him hard panned left, but then going into a stereo normal reverb send. And then also hard panned right. This is 2 different takes, doubled. So this is a very kind of like wide and thick sound. And then, and then we've got 1/3 take, which is mono in the same octave, doubled with another mono take that is lower. So we've got 2 stacked mono octaves, and then 2 kind of reinforcement on the left and right, also in the higher octave. So 3-to-1 in terms of high octave, low octave, but that low octave is doing some heavy lifting. We are human beings here at Beauty Slap. We're not against a little bit of auto-tune. And yes, this is just normal auto-tune that you would use on a vocal on a French horn. And it's not on all of them. The high takes, it looks like, I liked the way that those were going. We can solo. Yeah, those are laser beamed perfect in. But I guess there was something on the lows that I wanted. I'm sure it was probably a long sustain. And it's not doing very much. But it doesn't have to be auto-tune. There's a million ways that you can address tuning, but with brass, tuning is a huge deal, is something that I've learned. Like, it really affects the mix. So if you have a brass thing that's a teeny bit out of tune with a different brass instrument, just because brass instruments have such a long harmonic series above the fundamental, if those 2 harmonic series are slightly rubbing with each other, then all of a sudden it's eating up way more headroom than those 2 signals would if they were just nice and perfectly aligned. And so you gotta tune your brass. You can't shortcut that. Once you tune the whole brass section together and all of those harmonics are nice and lined up, then you can detune the whole thing if you want. And that can actually be cool. Like, you can do a phasey, chorusy, like, get some nice retro lo-fi sound on your brass can actually be really cool and make it sound like it's a Tower Power thing recorded to tape or something. But you got to have the section playing in tune at first, All right, I just spent too long on the French horn, but it's pretty epic, so I'm not actually that upset. We're gonna look at the brass now. Ugh. That's good shit. I don't even know. I mean, also one of my favorite things is that that's just Gabe, which is really, I've learned like such a cool specific sound, and I've kind of learned it with each of the guys in the band. Like, I know what 12 Scott sounds like, and 7 Gabe sounds like, and 8 Hakeem's, and like the Gabe one is nice though. We've got a couple different horns going on here, if I'm not mistaken. This is a combination of little horn and big horn.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just really locked in and nice with context.
Girl, you know I am an airplane. Believe me, babe, I'll fly your body all night long. So come on, girl, just board my jetway. Gas the fuel, the first class cruising all the way.
All right, no distribution of knowledge, so I'm just going to put up the settings here for this is the reverb that Gabe is going through, and this is the only VST that he's going through. I've got a bunch of compression and saturation on each take kind of separately. You can see I've got a little bit of black box going on some of them, but the meat of that's on the group is this SSL channel, which is just doing EQ. And sorry, did I just cut you off though? I did not mean to.
Either way. Yeah. I think finish this part and then I can.
Yeah, no,
say what
I'm done. That's it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So just when I was writing that, rhythmically, I ended up writing that in Sibelius actually, to hear it along with the melody played over the top. And I think I was really just mostly thinking play in the spaces and match so there's constant sound. And then the only thing is I also was really I initially wrote that for quintet, which is what my ear naturally gravitates towards because it's what I play the most. So I whenever I'm thinking of chord voicing or arranging, like at least for where I am right now as a 34-year-old man, I'm really thinking 2 trumpets, 2 trombones and French horn. And then because of normal life constraints, I think it was probably just difficult to get everyone else to record that.
Yep.
And so then I just played all the parts on different trombones, probably using biggest trombone for the bottom 2 parts, which is how I hear it anyway, and then higher trombones for the top. And then I'll just say that I think it's worth just exploring different voicings, and it's amazing how subtle voicing changes. Especially when you're chording out for brass, like this could be an F major chord, but if the third is in the trombone versus the second trumpet, it makes a huge difference. And little things like that, I just hear it in a way that that I want to, which I'm sure is how everyone writes music. But just that swapping around voicings a little is an enormous difference.
Can you, when you say voicings, like I feel like there's probably a lot of people out there who have messed around with music in a DAW, but have not actually written for an ensemble before. And I just want to clarify for that person, when you're talking about voicings, would they maybe be thinking that you're talking about inversions? Like, is that what you're talking about when you, you're changing which voices on the bottom versus on the top of the chord, which can be expressed in terms of like which instrument is playing it. But if you were doing it on a piano roll, it would also be moving like the order of the notes on the staff.
Yes, definitely that. And both matter for both, for sure. And I would say, though, even more when you're getting in a tight-knit group, I think that's where it kind of creativity explodes, because you know the players and their tendencies. So the voicings are even different based on me writing for what I believe will sound good with specifically me playing with Hakeem, and potentially just tenor trombone playing with bass trombone. But just certain things that I honestly had my dad tell me it a couple times, but just where you're deciding to place, especially the open chord tones, so unisons, octaves, and fifths, really matter so much to power, and who you are giving the powerful third to and in what range. Mm-hmm. And so as a trombone player, I play thirds all the time, and I find them fun to do. And generally, and I've talked about this with Jake as well, but we have money ranges on brass, and this is super specific, but where we can really light up the instrument, and other ranges where, of course, we have huge 4.5 octave ranges. Maybe that's not huge. Self-conscious.
I'm still hung up on it. I play thirds all the time.
And so you can play most notes in most places, but there is the next step of where is this? What are we going for this being the most important thing if this is playing at that time? And then melodically, where is that in the range of that instrument that you're writing it for? And so maybe instead of having the trombone play a super high third, which could be musically really useful, especially knowing that I'll have to force that, or do we want a first trumpet just chilling on a medium range note to have some more softness and relaxation to that sound? So, and these are all just super, I guess I would say, instinctual tendencies that I have, but I also think about them a lot whenever I'm writing for brass and whenever I'm writing and arranging.
Yeah, I think that was really great. I'm not gonna even touch it. That answered my question. All right, we just got a couple minutes left. I'm just gonna kind of breeze through the rest that we have here. Before we do the rest of the brass, I'm gonna show this breakdown group, which has a lot of kind of the secret sauce in this. So we get this hard panned, kind of flumy synth sound. I like to sometimes hard pan synths like this. This entire song, this is kind of crazy, but it was written before MPE was a thing, which I'm not going to explain right now, but it's kind of like a fancier MIDI that lets you control each note's pitch bend independently. This was done before that was possible, so I just would sometimes back in the day make two different tracks, record a mono synth on each one that has a lot of glide between the notes, and then hard pan them, so then you can have like notes in each ear gliding between each other, which is a kind of a cool effect. So that's what's going on there. We've also got just a classic old Dilla break, which I've kind of chopped up for one of the heavier parts, layered with another Dilla break, which is kind of low passed. Down here we've got a heavy string patch. See here at Beauty's Lab, we're not afraid of the glue compressor. We'll hit it hard. We'll give it 27 decibels of gain reduction if that's what it takes. And then down here, oh yeah, that's all mode, baby. Looks like there is actually a little post-processing. So this filter actually is helping a lot, taking a little bit of that edge off.
Definitely.
Chorus is doing a shitload, obviously. Really spreading it out. This is just this low kilohertz chorus. Stupid UI, just 5 knobs, but it gets the job done. And then the saturator, 9 decibels, obviously. Alright, and this group together I will play because I feel like it is, again, a heavy lifter. So that's all just that group. I can start putting in some of the other drums. Like, remember that wimpy Korak we were talking about? That's totally straight, and then you add it with this group. There's a lot of pumping happening. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I don't even know what so if we would drag this out, what is, yeah, you just played that.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Love that. So important. Yeah, so this is just the vocal part. Yeah, that's just great. I love that little turner. All right. I don't think that there's any more brass. Later, you play the entire verse thing.
Oh,
Sounds
you
great.
definitely should play the octave up, the soprano trombone.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Which, yeah, yeah.
Yep, the slide trumpet. So this is Gabe just straight up an octave. You can see we're on Complex Pro Warp mode. If you guys want to find out the secret slide trumpet settings, it's Performance 1.56 and envelope 27. Um, do a bunch of reverb, which is actually doing a lot. But even without it, it sounds like a real trumpet.
Yeah, and now, so there are soprano trombones, and we used one for the music video, which is
Yep.
hilarious. It could easily be fake, like you would be
This is
excused
the
for thinking
original.
it was played live, and
Yeah.
just some
Oh wait,
production trickery.
can't I hear that? It's so weird. Oh, is this not soloed or something? I don't know why I can't hear this. Oh, it's automation?
To the left.
Yeah, this is what was originally played.
Yep.
Then we took it up. And I kid about the secret settings, but I will say for anybody who's doing like aggressive pitch bending on any material, then these warp settings are going to be super important. So what I saw that was, what did I say, 1.56 and 27. If I just jump these around, we can get some pretty different timbres. I'm not going to mess around with it all day, but those warp settings are important. And then let's see. I think the last thing that we really have to talk about is the vocals, and then we're done.
Flying through the air. Girl.
I think this is my favorite group in the song. It's just all these doodles.
The doodles.
The doodles.
You know
remember
I
they did.
am.
Yeah.
I am flying through the air.
So you can hear it's like various amounts of autotune and stuff on these, but if I were to just drag out vocal doodles,
Girl,
yeah.
I am. You know I'm in. I am an airplane.
Yeah, just like a bunch of little idea things, which I recommend so much to anybody who's writing any song. Again, whether it's a musician or a vocalist, when you have them in the studio at the end, be like, hey, just go back over this entire song, go through the entire thing, and just fuck around the whole time. If it's a rapper, be like, go through and just do funny ad libs. If it's a singer, be like, just go through and do oohs and ahs. If it's a trombone player, be like, go through and just play some little slides or like make sounds. Like, you will get the most fun things on those low stake takes.
Low stake takes.
There's a bunch of vocals that never made it in the song. For the best.
Wow.
There are also a bunch of vocals that did make it in the song, but they're not here. Okay. These ones we took out, I guess. What are all these? I'm curious.
Oh, we gotta fly.
Yeah. From the
Yo.
bridge.
Oh, we gotta fly.
Yeah, like what could have been? It works.
I
it's-
forgot about that.
The rhythmic enunciation of "gotta fly"
Yep.
is pretty funny. That is, yeah. These echoes.
Airplane, come fly with me up high.
Yep. So this is something I do sometimes with vocals. These are panned just 10 to the right and 10 to the left. So not a real hard pan, but just a little smidge. And we're over time, so I'm gonna go really fast here. These are def in the sample pack. These girls. I think these actually turned out really strong.
Also, yeah, form-wise, those were super important to making these choruses work, which was actually, I think my sister had an idea to put those in for some continuity. Who's a
That
singer?
makes sense, yeah.
But as far I'm usually thinking of in some kind of way, even on a small level, some hookiness, and that those girls really just added so much continuity.
They're beauties, those girls. Yeah, they're just really important. I really like him in this part.
Me too.
Girl, I am an airplane. Skyward will fly.
Yep. What are these? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Falsetto. We get that.
Girl, you know I am an airplane.
So this is doubled unison ticks, hard panned right and left.
Or fly your body all night long.
Pretty aggressive auto tune.
So come on.
Let's see, boosted a bunch of formant, ES, RVox, CLA. Smooth.
First class cruising.
Yeah, I think that part sounds great performance-wise. And we're gonna call it there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like the way that these sounds sound, then you can download them on our website. This is one of many songs where we have full sample packs available on our site. You can get them each for $5, or you can just become a member on the site and get unlimited access to everything forever. Thank you so much for tuning in. Anything you'd like to say to the people before we sign off?
Thank you. Be a plane.
Peace out.